What's going on, everybody? This is Jeff with Living in Arizona, and today we are going to compare Arizona and California. I lived in Arizona for about 20 years, and I lived in California for about 10 years. The other few years, 4 or 5 years, I lived in Hawaii. So I do have an experience living all up and down California, and I do have experience living in Arizona, obviously. So let's go ahead and dive right in here. If you are thinking about moving to Arizona, or you live in Arizona and you just like to hear stories about Arizona, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. And thank you to everyone who's been hitting the like button to help build this channel up. Let's dive right in here. So, me personally, I lived in San Diego. I lived in the central San Joaquin Valley near Fresno. And so I've lived in SoCal and I lived in SoCal, right? I do enjoy Northern California. Like, I think Northern California from Humboldt County all the way down to Fort Bragg, all the way down through the Redwoods and that whole area, Eureka. I think it's beautiful over there. But, and it's one of those places you can't quite find anywhere else in the world. So, I mean, in terms of just amazingness, California has that awe factor that just does not exist in Arizona. Arizona has like the Grand Canyon, but California has Yosemite. It has Sequoia National Park. It has the Redwood Forest. It has the beautiful Bay Area. It has, San Diego all in of itself is just a beautiful area. So many beautiful places. Big Sur, the Highway 1, Hearst Castle, Pismo Beach, all that stuff. Now, the thing about Arizona and California is, yeah, you're going to have that coastline in California that you don't have in Arizona, but it comes with a tax. It comes with a price, right? To live in an area that has that kind of beauty, you're going to have to pay sometimes 2 to 3 times more than what you'd pay in Arizona. But when you're living in California, to think of coming back to Arizona, I remember always saying that would be like a step backwards for me. Even though I had my family here, I'm saying as far as quality of life, I felt like it was a step backwards. Even though I was not too content with California, because even though there is a lot of beautiful places in, say, San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and all across the state, it's always just so crammed and packed, and you can't really enjoy the beaches. So it almost got to a point where I realized finally towards the end, it was like, it's better to just visit California. Keep it as like a vacation destination instead of live there. So make your permanent home in a place like Arizona and then go to visit these expensive places instead of try to full-time live there. And so the things that stood out to me about why I wanted to leave California was, number one, the cost of living is so darn expensive, which I'm going to outline in this video here based on data, right? So if you just compare, say, Los Angeles and Phoenix, the overall difference in homeowner, no child care, taxes not included, okay? So just living overall, you're looking at a 72% difference between Los Angeles and Phoenix. So Los Angeles is about 72% more expensive than Phoenix. And that's coming from bestplaces.net that's calculating this data. Housing is about, so on this index here, they have Phoenix at 122.6 on the index of what they're calculating. Los Angeles at 358.4. So that means that Los Angeles housing is sometimes more than double what you would find in Phoenix. So a $1,200 rent in Phoenix, $2,600 in Los Angeles. So that's just not rent. I'm sorry. That's for homeowners. Okay. So if your mortgage is, $1,200, you could probably pay that in California. Like this home that I'm living in right now here in Arizona, I got it for around $270. In California, it would probably go for, in San Diego area, $700,000 to $800,000. Yeah, it's possible. And, that's a big hit, nice house. It's a nice house, but because of the location is everything. Location, right? That's the thing. And it said on this website here, $229,000 for a median home cost is the median home cost in Phoenix. $670,000 in Los Angeles. So you can see it is pretty it's pretty outstanding, right? Now, one area where Phoenix is more expensive than Los Angeles is in utilities, and that goes back to the whole air conditioner thing. People just use their air conditioner a little bit more in Arizona. Whereas in California, you can kind of get away with just opening up the windows, especially closer to the coast that you are, right? Like within 5 miles to the ocean in San Diego, basically none of the houses have air conditioners, because even when it's hot in August and September, and believe me, it can get hot in August and September in San Diego. I was there in 2014, when that summer was cooking hot, okay? Now, transportation is more expensive in Los Angeles. Another area where Phoenix kind of takes the edge is in healthcare. It is a little bit more expensive for healthcare in Arizona. Don't ask me why, or in Phoenix. So obviously there's a lot of big cities in California, not just Los Angeles. There's San Diego. I thought that San Diego was more expensive than Los Angeles, but that just depends on the area. Now, Los Angeles, the freeways would just get jam-packed. In Phoenix, we get a little bit of rush hour traffic, but nothing like you would see in Los Angeles. Los Angeles rush hour traffic, holy smokes, man. Wow. If you got the time for that, you're a patient person. But I've been in gridlock traffic on I-5, I-10 coming in from San Bernardino, just any of the other outlets, the 101, it just gets packed out there, okay? So traffic just better in Arizona, cost of living better in Arizona. Like I said, utilities a little bit better in California, but what you're paying in the rent is nothing compared to what you would pay in Los Angeles, San Diego. And then the most expensive city, San Francisco, is the most expensive city in the nation. So, you know, if you think Los Angeles and San Diego are expensive, yeah, good luck trying to live in the Bay Area, right? So now if we just look at some of these other aspects of what's going on, California's cost of living pushing people to Arizona. So Californians are leaving California to come live in Arizona. And this is just an example here that was posted on a nationwide website. A company that manufactures workbenches and lab furniture is relocating to Goodyear near Phoenix, Arizona to save money while creating 30 new jobs in Arizona. So not just companies leaving California, but people leaving California. Not just because of the wildfires, the drought, the overpopulation, but kind of just like they're feeling they're done with saying, hey, it's not worth it to live and pay this kind of cost here in California when I could go live in Phoenix, save myself some money and the headaches, and just kind of breathe a little bit. California can be really exhausting to live there. Unless you're living on the ocean, if you're not living within 10 miles of the ocean in California, you'd probably be better off just moving to Arizona. And not to say, I know a lot of Arizona people are like, no, don't send them here, don't send them here. But yeah, I mean, we're making this video. Realistically, if you're not living within 10 to 15 miles of the ocean, you're not going to get that cool ocean breeze. I mean, if you like the convenience of being that close to the ocean, that could be a perk. But for the most part, Huntington Beach or any of the beaches, even La Jolla, all the way down to Imperial Beach, Ocean Beach, Pacific Beach, Laguna, those beaches are so crowded, it's hard to really enjoy yourself. I guess Laguna is not too crowded, right? But and then the beaches north of Santa Barbara, I mean, people don't really swim there. Pismo Beach, I guess people swim in Pismo Beach with the great whites. I don't know. Great white sharks over there. Now, we've also got some interesting stuff to talk about. Now, GDP, California is one of the largest GDPs. California as a state is one of the largest GDPs in the whole world, and that's just the state, right? So the GDP in California is out of this world. I mean, that's a money-making machine right there. Unemployment in Arizona is higher than California. 4.7% in Arizona, 4.1% in California. Don't ask me how they got that calculation, because I've never seen more homeless people in my life than I saw in Long Beach and Compton in that area there's so many homeless people, it's crazy. Then again, Phoenix has a lot of homeless people. And so I don't know how they calculate the homeless, but it's all over. San Francisco, homelessness in San Francisco has even made nationwide news. This is not something that I'm just conjuring up in my own mind to make light of the situation or make fun of it. It's real. It's happening. California has some super high homeless rates. So I don't think I've seen the amount of poverty in Arizona like I saw the poverty in certain areas of California. You have extreme wealth in California, Long Beach, Newport, Laguna, and all that, where I've never seen the concentration of $1 million homes like I've seen. But there's also a large pocket of poverty all throughout San Francisco, San Diego, and Los Angeles. So I don't know where they're getting that number from, but that comes straight off the government's website. I've taken issue with that before. Divorce rates in California are higher, and obviously the population of California almost approaching 40 million. That's larger than this. I think that's larger than Canada and Australia each individually, and it might even be more than Canada and Australia populations combined. Wow. So that just gives you an idea of how densely populated California really is. So Arizona's got 7 million. California has 40 million. You get the idea here. And most of those people live along the coast. And even beyond that, most of those people live in about 3 cities along the coast: San Francisco Bay Area, Los Angeles metropolitan area, and San Diego metropolitan area. Then you have Fresno and you have Sacramento, which I guess you could say make up some of the pockets of population. And then, you have the Inland Empire, which is Palm Springs, all the way down to, basically Palm Springs. I guess, yeah. Northern California doesn't really make up, there's nothing really past Sacramento until you get to really Eugene. I mean, there's some population, but not too much there, right? It's just forest, beautiful forest though. So Arizona overall, I feel as though if you're done paying the extremely high mortgage and the extremely high rent, you can find a safe haven in Arizona with that, and you will find peace. But you're going to be sacrificing the ocean. You're going to be giving away that beachfront property, and for some people that's really difficult to get away from. But if you can live without the ocean, the smell of the ocean, or the sound of the ocean, or the ocean air within close proximity, then Arizona is the next best thing, and it's not going to cost you as much money. So for me, like I said, I got tired of having to pay. I mean, I was paying for a 1-bedroom $1,800. I think I even paid one time. I think it was like $2,200, and then I had like a 3-bedroom apartment that I was living in by myself, or not by myself, but I was paying the bills for my other roommates because whatever. Long story short, but it was a 3-bedroom, and that cost me $2,700 in San Diego, and I was living in Pacific Beach, and it wasn't even that good. I mean, the house was built in the 1970s. So it was like a condo house, whatever. But I was just exhausted with having to come up with $2,700 a month for that, Like, that's exhausting. It's so expensive. Here, $1,600 is high. You get it? So let's see what else we can get. If we can get some more demographics dialed in here. We've got basically home ownership rate is comparable. Housing units, there's far more in California. But more people in Arizona own a house than in California. Probably because it's cheaper to get a home in Arizona. It's easier to qualify because if you only make $35,000 in California, you're priced out of real estate in California. If you make $35,000 per year in Arizona, you can buy a house. You get it? So that's a big factor right there. It's per capita. We have more veterans per capita here in Arizona. California has more bachelor degrees. People have bachelor's degrees. 30% of California's population has a bachelor's degree. 26% of Arizona's population has a bachelor's degree. So maybe you could say people are a little bit more educated in California than they are in Arizona, and you could almost associate that with like a brain drain kind of thing. Although for the most part, I don't think you'll feel like you're talking to too many people who are, people in Arizona seem pretty savvy, regardless of whether they have a bachelor's degree or not. So overall, if you wanted to know what state's bigger in square miles, 155,000 square miles in California, 113,000 in Arizona. So in landmass, California is a little bit bigger than Arizona's landmass. But back to the whole natural resources. I mean, if you live in, or natural beauties, if you live in San Diego and you got to go to Yosemite, that's a pretty long huck. I mean, what's the difference if you're living in Phoenix and you go to Yosemite? A couple hours of driving difference. So because it's such a big state, I mean, you might live in SoCal and want to go to Northern Cal, but it's almost the same thing, like just a couple extra hours. What's a 9-hour drive if you've got to add 3 hours onto it? Maybe from San Diego, it's 9 hours to get to Humboldt County, whereas in Arizona, it takes 12 hours. So you're not really too far away. I mean, it's ultimately going to come down to the ocean. If you're living in San Diego and you're in Chula Vista, for example, how long does it take to get from Chula Vista to the ocean? 20 minutes, 30 minutes, depending on traffic? If you're going from Phoenix to San Diego, it takes 6.5 hours, depending on how fast you drive. From Phoenix to Los Angeles, it's 7 hours. So, I mean, you're always going to be a car ride away from the ocean anyway, if that's really what you need. But with the way these beaches are, you either got to be mega wealthy to get any sort of peace on the beach, or you've got to go share the beach shoulder to shoulder with a whole bunch of thousands of people trying to cram onto a beach. So is it even relaxing anymore? I don't know. That's something that you would have to discover on your own. But this is just a general overview of my experience and some data of California versus Arizona. Overall, I would say I love California. I really do enjoy it. But the cost of living pushed me out of there. In terms of politics, I didn't really care about the politics, if it was liberal or conservative. That was not a reason to leave. But some people, they're like, I got to get out of this liberal POS and go to a more conservative place. And some people would say, oh, I got to get out of this conservative state of Arizona and get back over to where people are liberal. So there's always going to be two sides to every coin, depending on how political you are. Me, I don't really base my decisions on politics, although some people do. Taxation, it seemed like taxes, there's not really too big of a difference in income tax or corporate tax. I know in California you have to pay an annual tax for your LLC, which you don't have to pay in Arizona. But Arizona's got these hidden taxes and all these different things that might surprise you. So it's not too much better on taxes in Arizona. I didn't really see a big difference in California and Arizona, even though the percentage might be a little bit different. Let's see. Arizona income tax rate 2018. Let's see what it is. So obviously it varies, but let's just say you made $50,000. Your tax rate is 4.24%. In California, if you made $50,000, let's see, it's 9.3%. Okay, so it is a little bit higher in California. I don't know where, or it says 6% over here if you're military. So it depends on if you're military or not. But anyway, it looks like Arizona is a little bit cheaper on income tax, but I'm not getting this off an official taxation guide, so I apologize for that. Income tax in California, minimum wage, $11 an hour. The federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, and California state minimum wage is $11 an hour. So you could see that even though California is more than 2 times more expensive for rent and mortgage, the minimum wage, even if it's not double $7.25 would be $14.50, right? So $11, so it's not, it doesn't keep up pace. So the minimum wage doesn't even though it's more, it doesn't justify the cost of living, if that makes sense. So, like I said, if you're new here, you can subscribe to Living in Arizona, and I hope this video made some sense for some of you guys who are considering it. Obviously, this is just one side of a story. So, at the end of the day, I chose to move back to Arizona for cost of living, in particular, housing. It was easier to buy a house in Arizona than it was in California. So, yeah, we'll see you guys next time.